Ever wonder how these holes are made? Keep watching and find out. G'day guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Sam's Home Kitchen, where I bring to you budget-friendly recipes with sustainability in mind. So this week we're making one of these, bagels or bagels.
They're called bagels.
I lived in New York, Troy. I know what a bagel is.
Leave a comment down below and let me know what do you call these things. So 6 of these are getting sold at around 10 bucks in our local bagel bars. And you might be thinking that, oh, that's cheap, that's only $1 something. Wait until you watch till the end and find out how much these cost to make at home. So I got some really good feedback from the banana bread recipe that I put out last week. My approach with regards to breaking down the recipes by ratio. So get down to the super basic. These are 60% hydration dough. It's about 100 to 120 grams per bagel. If none of that makes sense to you, keep watching and I'm going to show you how I break down the recipe and make it super easily scalable. Before we get into the recipe, if you appreciate my work making recipes super simple, give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. I have 2 videos coming out every week. Now that is out of the way, let's get cooking.
To make our bagels, we're going to need a list of ingredients, and as per always, they will be listed on the screen for you to screenshot and save for later. First of all, we'll need some flour. Here I'm using bread flour for a better gluten formation and for a chewier texture. Plain flour can be used as a substitute, but it just won't come out as chewy. Next, we're going to need some water. Some recipes use milk or yogurt. In order to keep our costs down, water is always our best friend. Some yeast for our dough to create those air bubbles in our bagels. Some sugar to go along with our yeast mixture for some yeast activation. Some salt to season the dough. Optionally, you can add in some bicarb and sugar in the bagel boiling water to get some color on them when being baked. With our recipe, this is a 60% hydration dough with 120 grams dough per bagel. That is 45 grams of water and 75 grams of flour per portion. Follow the rule and make as many or as little bagels as you wish. And that is the beauty of working with ratio. We'll put this aside and get started. First thing first, we're going to prep our yeast mixture. We are using instant yeast here, and they need a little bit of encouragement to come back to life. As per always, measuring with a scale is the only correct way to cook. Grab a bowl onto the scale. I've been keeping my instant yeast in the freezer in a sealed bag. These are now 3 months past expiry and just as active as a 3-year-old kid. The main factors that cause yeast to die are humidity and heat. So by keeping them in the freezer helps with prolonging the life. To make A bagels, I'm adding 6 grams of yeast along with 20 grams of sugar to help with activation. Instant yeast requires carbohydrate to bring back to life, so sugar or flour or a combination of 2 helps with the process. Next, we want to add in 360 grams of lukewarm water for A bagels to dissolve our yeast and sugar. We want between 40 to 55 degrees Celsius here. Too low won't work and too high kills the yeast. Grab a tiny whisk or fork and we want to give it a good mixing to get it all going. Once all is dissolved, we're going to put it aside and let time do its thing. Give it a good 10 to 15 minutes. And if you see a layer of foam forming on the surface, that is a good sign that your yeast is active and a little bit flaty. If it is as dead as my great-great-grandma, it's time to get some new yeast. Now, our yeast mixture is active and happy. It's time to put together our dough. Grab a scale and we're going to add in 600 grams of bread flour to 360 grams of liquid to achieve a 60% hydration dough. 2 grams of salt to season and build up the gluten. Given 60% dough are pretty easy to work with, we're going to use our hand to bind it all together. Give it a good mixing until it starts to come together like a dough. The goal of this stage is not to achieve a smooth dough, but to combine everything together and hydrate all of the flour. Once there's no more loose flour left in the bowl, we're going to let the dough sit and relax before we knead it again. I've said it in the past, and I will say it again. There is no need for single-use plastic wraps just to cover the dough in our home kitchen. Because the heat at home, compared to commercial kitchens, is absolutely nothing, which means we don't have to worry about dough drying out as much. Just grab a lid or chopping board to cover the bowl, and that is more than enough. 20 minutes has gone past, and here we're going to knead our dough for the first time. Grab the dough out of the bowl, and here is where I always try to scrape the bowl clean as much as possible to keep the waste as minimum. At our first knead, we are going to give it a good 5 minutes of our time. Nothing more, nothing less. Fold the front of the dough in and press it down with our body weight. Rinse and repeat until it's too hard and bouncy to knead. And we let it sit for another 20 minutes. It's perfectly normal that it's not super smooth at this stage. Grab our mixing bowl, cover it, and let it rest for 20 minutes. So another 20 minutes has gone past, and now we're going to knead our dough until it's smooth. Depending on the speed you're going at, it should be around 5 to 10 minutes. Repeat the same motion by folding the dough into itself until it's nice and smooth. Now the dough is all worked up, the next step is let it proof and let our lovely yeast create those tiny air bubbles in our bagels. Put it back into the mixing bowl and cover it with our chopping board. Now we're going to let it rest for approximately 1 hour, just enough time to get it slightly puffed up. And no, we don't want it to double in size like any other bread recipes. 1 hour is up, and the dough has definitely gained some volume. Grab it out of the mixing bowl, and now it's time to portion it up. Roll the dough into a log, and we want to portion out 8 bagels with about 120 grams each dough bowl. Next, we're going to shape our doughs. Start by pulling the edges of the dough in and fold the dough towards the center into itself. Flip it over and smooth out the dough with circular rolling motion with our fingers and palm. Repeat the process until all 8 of them are done. Next, we want to grab a kitchen towel and wet it under the tap. Come back to the bagel doughs and we want to cover them with wet towel and proof for 20 minutes. Once 20 minutes is up, we are at the final step before cooking these little cuties. Now, we want to grab a dough, flatten it with our fingers, grab the top end of the flattened dough and fold it in. Do it for 3 to 4 times until we have a cylinder. Roll it out with our fingers and palm to about 2 centimeters diameter. Twist the dough to create extra tension. Last step, we want to grab one end of the dough and wrap it around the fingers to turn it into a bagel. Squeeze the 2 ends together and roll it on the work surface to smooth it out. And with that done, we've got a beautifully handmade bagel. Bloody well done. Alternatively, pull a finger out to violate the dough right through the middle. Once poked through, use the 2 index fingers to stretch a hole a little bit. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. With all of the bagels formed, we want to put them on a baking sheet for the final 10 minutes proof. While the bagels are proofing, load up some water in your widest pan. We're going to boil our bagels to gelatinize them to give it the classic bagel crust. Onto the stove, and we want to turn our stove and the oven on at the same time. Like literally at the same time. Don't ask me why because I have no idea what I was trying to achieve either. Anyway, the oven should be on 220 degrees Celsius on fan force. In the water, we can add in some bicarb and sugar to give our bagels a darker color. Once our water is up to boil, lift the bagels off with wet hands to prevent sticking, and we want to gently load the bagels in. The bagels should be nice and floaty, and we're going to cook them for about 45 seconds each side. Give it a flip-a-do once the 45 seconds is up-a-do. After all of our bagels have been boiled, we are at the final stage of dressing them up. Some recipes I read call for egg wash to make them golden brown. I'm way too cheap nor wasteful for that, so I just apply some oil instead. Whatever you use, spread it out evenly, and then it's our opportunity to add in the toppings, sesame, herbs, whatever your heart desires. And finally, once the oven is up to temperature, it's time to pop the bagels in for 20 minutes. I have the bagels baking for 10 minutes and flip the whole tray around for another 10 minutes to ensure they are evenly heated. After 20 minutes is up, this is what I was left with, some beautifully golden brown bagels. Don't be too tempted though, you want to leave them on the baking rack until fully cooled. For lunch, I made some hot smoked salmon with all of the classics, soft cheese, salmon, and capers. The cost breakdown is as below. 600 grams of bread flour at $1.50 a kilo equals to 90 cents. 6 grams of yeast at $15 a kilo equals to 0.9 cents. 20 grams of sugar at 11 cents per kilo equals to 0.22 cents. 2 grams of salt at 90 cents per kilo equals to 0.18 cents. Altogether, 8 bagels costed us 91.3 cents to make. Are you kidding me? That is 11.4 cents per bagel. And they are perfectly vegan friendly too.
Alright, and there we have it. We've got our bagels done over here. So the entire process, the only effort that is kind of required is the elbow grease that needed to go in to build out the gluten strength to make sure that our bagels are nice and chewy. But apart from that, it's actually super simple to make. And I just made some hot smoked salmon bagel over here. It's a bit of a classic with a twist, and I'm just going to jump in and let you know how it tastes like. To be honest, when I first looked at the bagel, I was like, oh shit, I oven fermented it. This is just gonna turn out like ordinary bread. And it looked like it, but honestly, it's super chewy and it's one of the best bagels I've ever had in my entire 30 years of life. One of these take less than 20 cents to make. It's a family-friendly kind of activity to make the dough and shape them. Whoever is in your family can have this for lunch at the same time. It's amazing. Did I say amazing? It's amazing. I love it. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you learned something, if you think budget-friendly recipes really should be more normal, subscribe to the channel, share my video, and just try to have a positive impact in our world. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video.